Trypophobia. 15% of people get physically sick looking at tiny holes clustered together. That's trypophobia, and it's way more common than you think. Lotus seed pods, honeycomb, strawberries up close, coral, aerated chocolate. These patterns make people nauseous, give them panic attacks, and make their skin crawl. It's an intense physical reaction. Your brain sees clusters of holes and thinks disease or parasites. Scientists believe it's evolutionary. Your ancestors who avoided things that looked like infected skin, rashes, or wasp nests survived longer and passed on that instinct. So now your brain sees a harmless honeycomb and screams, danger. And the weirdest part is that trypophobia isn't officially recognized as a real phobia in the DSM-5, the handbook doctors use to diagnose mental disorders. But that doesn't stop millions of people from experiencing it. Some can't eat crumpets because of the holes. Others avoid looking at their shower head. Certain people can't work in kitchens because colanders trigger them. And yeah, if you just Googled trypophobia images out of curiosity, that was a mistake. Anatidaephobia. Right now, somewhere, a duck is watching you. At least that's what people with Anatidaephobia believe. This is the fear that a duck or goose is constantly observing you. Here's the wild part. This phobia literally started as a joke. Cartoonist Gary Larson invented it for his comic strip, The Far Side, in 1988. He drew someone sitting at a desk with text explaining their irrational fear that a duck was watching them. The comic went viral before going viral was even a thing. And something strange happened. People actually started developing this fear. But let's be honest, ducks are kind of unsettling when you really think about it. Those beady black eyes have almost 360-degree vision, meaning they can see you even when their head is turned away. They're always watching. And geese? Even worse. Studies show geese can recognize individual human faces and remember them for years. If a goose doesn't like you, it will hold that grudge and attack you specifically next time it sees you. So while Anatidaephobia started as satire, there are people who genuinely feel watched by waterfowl. They avoid parks with ponds, feel anxious near lakes. It sounds ridiculous, but your brain doesn't care about logic when it decides something is a threat. Nomophobia. Touch your pocket right now. Did you panic for a second thinking your phone wasn't there? That's nomophobia, the fear of being without your mobile phone. And studies show 66% of people have it. The name comes from no mobile phone phobia, and it's recognized by psychologists as a legitimate anxiety disorder. Symptoms include elevated heart rate, sweating, trembling, shortness of breath, and full-blown panic attacks when separated from your phone. Even just seeing your battery at 10% can trigger stress responses. Some people physically shake when their phone dies. Here's how severe this gets. Research shows most people would rather give up coffee, alcohol, chocolate, or even sex for a week than give up their phones. 53% of people have never gone a full day without checking their phone. The average person checks their phone 96 times per day. That's once every 10 minutes during waking hours. Some people sleep with their phone in their hand because the thought of it being across the room causes anxiety. Brain scans reveal that phone separation activates the same neural pathways as physical pain. Your brain literally processes being without your phone the same way it processes a broken bone. It's not just psychological, it's a physical stress response. If you're watching this on your phone right now and feeling called out, you probably have at least mild nomophobia. Chromatophobia. This is an irrational and persistent fear of money or spending money. For people with this phobia, touching cash feels disgusting and dangerous. Coins and notes have passed through thousands of hands, and that thought alone is enough to trigger anxiety. Some feel an instant need to wash their hands after touching money. Others avoid it completely. Paper money is especially bad. It absorbs sweat, dirt, and bacteria, and people with chromatophobia fixate on that. Even seeing loose change on a table can make them uncomfortable. The brain treats money like something contaminated, but it's not always about germs. For some people, money represents stress, debt, arguments, or bad memories. Maybe they grew up watching money cause fights. Maybe they associate it with pressure or failure. Over time, their brain learns to see money as a threat. This makes everyday life harder. Paying in cash causes anxiety. Counting money feels overwhelming. Some people only use digital payments. Others avoid talking about money at all because it makes them uncomfortable. The irony is obvious. Money is necessary to live. And for people with chromatophobia, being forced to deal with it can be stressful every single day. Omphalophobia. Belly buttons freak some people out so badly they can't even touch their own. That's omphalophobia, and it's surprisingly widespread. People with this phobia describe belly buttons as looking like an open wound that never healed. Belly buttons are basically the little indent in your stomach where the umbilical cord used to be. To them, it looks vulnerable, exposed, like something could crawl inside. Seeing someone else's belly button, especially an outie, can trigger panic attacks. Some omphalophobes can't shower properly because they avoid touching their belly button area. Others can't wear crop tops or go swimming because the thought of their belly button being visible causes intense anxiety. Intimate relationships become complicated when your partner wants to touch your stomach and you physically recoil. Here's what makes it worse. The belly button is actually connected to internal organs through scar tissue. When you poke your belly button too hard, you can feel it in your bladder or intestines. That weird internal feeling when you touch your navel is real, and it validates the fear for people with omphalophobia. Fun fact, some people can't even say the word belly button without cringing. They call it a navel or just avoid talking about it entirely. Pogonophobia. This is defined as the irrational fear of beards, particularly those leafy and long. Although it should be noted that there are people with pogonophobia who only fear mustaches or certain types of beards. So there are variations, and it's affected entire cultures throughout history. People with this fear describe beards as dirty, harboring bacteria, or hiding the person's true face. The idea that hair is growing out of someone's face in thick clumps triggers their disgust response. Longer beards are worse. They imagine food particles, dead skin, or bugs trapped in the hair. Some pogonophobes feel physically ill when a bearded person gets too close. This phobia has shaped history more than you'd think. In the 16th century, England's Queen Elizabeth I hated beards so much she taxed them. Peter the Great of Russia did the same thing, forcing men to either shave or pay a beard tax. The fear might stem from associating beards with aggression, uncleanliness, or unpredictability. Beards hide facial expressions, making it harder to read someone's emotions. Or maybe it's just that facial hair feels fundamentally unnatural to them. Like hair shouldn't grow on faces, and when it does, something's wrong. Whatever the cause, pogonophobia is real, and the rise of beard culture over the past decade has made it harder than ever for sufferers to avoid their trigger. Genuphobia. Some people feel uncomfortable looking at knees, not just other people's, but even their own. This condition is called genuphobia, the fear or strong aversion toward knees. And while it sounds unusual, it's a real psychological experience. For those who have it, the discomfort isn't about pain or injury. Instead, it's the appearance and movement of the knee joint itself. The kneecap shifts under the skin when the leg bends, tendons become visible, and the joint changes shape in ways that some people find unsettling. What most of us barely notice can feel strangely unnatural to someone with genuphobia. The reaction can range from mild unease to genuine anxiety. Some people avoid wearing shorts or skirts because seeing their knees makes them uncomfortable. Others prefer not to watch certain sports or avoid situations where knees are prominently visible, like beaches or swimming pools. Psychologists don't fully agree on a single cause. One theory suggests it may relate to how exposed and vulnerable the knee joint appears. It's a complex structure with little natural protection, and humans are naturally sensitive to signs of physical vulnerability. Like many uncommon fears, genuphobia exists on a spectrum. For some, it's just a passing discomfort. For others, it can influence clothing choices, activities, or daily routines. It's a reminder that phobias don't always have to make logical sense to be real. Phobophobia. The fear of fear itself, and it's as meta and terrible as it sounds. People with phobophobia aren't afraid of a specific thing. They're afraid of the feeling of being afraid. They fear the physical sensations of fear, the racing heart, the sweating, the panic, the loss of control. So they spend their entire life trying to avoid any situation that might trigger fear, which ironically makes them constantly anxious. Here's the vicious cycle. They're afraid they might get scared. That anticipation itself causes anxiety. So now they're experiencing the exact thing they feared. It's an endless loop of fear feeding on itself. This phobia often develops after someone has a traumatic panic attack. The panic attack was so horrible that their brain decides, we can never feel that way again. People with phobophobia avoid horror movies, roller coasters, public speaking, anything that might spike their adrenaline. They're essentially held hostage by the possibility of fear. And the cruelest irony is that by being so afraid of fear, they live in a constant state of anxiety, which is just low-level fear running 24/7.